The leopard, moving through the forest and savannas of the world like a spectre. It's one of the most mysterious and elusive of the big cats, and yet here in India, it's increasingly coming into contact with humans. Rightly respected for its ferocity, a gunshot-injured man-eater in the early 1900s once ate 125 people. Today, a number of big cats roam across the subcontinent of India, and most of them are threatened. Some 12,000 leopards live in the remaining forests and grasslands, many near villages and cities. Weighing up to 150 pounds, this carnivore remains one of the world's most formidable predators. And when combined with large human populations in India encroaching on their jungle homes, this can be a recipe for disaster. Helping to resolve these human-leopard issues is Wildlife SOS, run by one of its founders, Kartik Satyanarayan.
We've been working for a long time to protect and conserve leopards in India. Leopards across the landscape in India are facing innumerable number of challenges because of rapid urbanization, encroachment of their habitat, changing of farming practices. They are literally living in a human-dominated landscape, which means people are living cheek to jowl with leopards. And that is a huge problem.
And one of the biggest problems is open wells on farmlands, some over 65 feet deep, that trap and drown leopards.
Open wells are a huge challenge for us in the landscape that we work in to protect and conserve leopards. Basically, what are open wells? They're essentially a deep cavity that's unlined and goes down into the ground to access drinking water, and the local communities use that to access groundwater for their drinking and other water requirements. It's very easy for leopards and other animals to fall straight into these wells, and that's when Wildlife SOS receives a call, and we've got to go there and rescue these animals out of these wells.
And getting them out of these deep holes is not easy. Usually, the first step is getting them a basic platform to stand on. Next, a way out. Then, the leopards have to be convinced to pick the lesser of two evils. Climb in the box or drown. Finally, it's comforting to know that each sliding door has a 2-inch gap to safely allow for the leopard's tail. Safe at last. This leopard will be inspected for injuries, treated, then released.
Open wells are a very common feature in the areas that we work in Maharashtra. So when the farmer is working in that field and he needs his water nearby, this well is created. And then after he shifts to some other place to grow some other crop, the well is left, unfortunately, open without a cover. Now these wells are at ground level and therefore at night, extremely dangerous death traps for animals. Very often there are no bricks or stones to mark the boundary of the well. Sometimes the well is dry, there might be some water, but it doesn't matter. It can still kill an animal that goes toppling into it. We have rescued civet cats, fox, hyenas, even a huge sambar deer, crocodiles because they've all fallen in, and of course many leopard cubs and leopards.
And every situation is completely unique, potentially dangerous for people and leopards.
If I recollect right, Wildlife SOS has rescued over 40 leopards from open wells alone. This 7-year-old leopard was walking by this open well, slipped in, fell down 50 feet into this well and kept struggling all night long and was quite weak by the morning. Probably enough to drown if he had delayed maybe a few more minutes. But a farmer saw him just in the nick of time and immediately alerted the Wildlife SOS team and the forest department. Of course, we got all our rescue equipment, jumped into the vehicle, the rapid response unit buzzed off to get to this location. Now, the problem was that by the time we got all the ropes and the equipment and the trap to lower it down, there was a real chance that that leopard would drown. He was so weak, he was barely able to stay afloat and we thought he would drown. And the first thing we spotted, and this is where I think we often have to think out of the box, we spotted a cot, a local cot that villagers in that area used to sleep. And we flipped the cot over and suspended it with its 4 legs with ropes. And we lowered this cot like an inverted table, literally, all the way down to where the leopard was. And my God, we could see the relief, the visible relief on that leopard's face when he saw that he could actually hang on to something because there was nothing that he could grip onto and he was really on the verge of drowning. And it was really in the nick of time that we were able to get that cot down there and he was able to hang on to it and stay afloat. We were able to lower this crate down, have the leopard climb into that. And these animals are incredibly intelligent. They have a sense of knowing when something safe comes down, how they can get inside and protect themselves. And we were able to pull that leopard out of that well safely, examine the animal, make sure he was fine, and gave him whatever treatment was required before he was certified to be fit for release. And then off he went back into the wild when we released him back into the forest.
Other animals, like hyenas, find themselves in the terrifying position of not being able to escape these death pits. They try to swim or climb out to safety. Help comes with the quick response of farmers, the forest department and Wildlife SOS, using their equipment and local tools at hand to entice the hyena into climbing into their rescue box. Crocodiles, foxes or hyenas, of course, do not respond with the same intelligence as leopards, and the behavioural differences between the various trapped animals must be taken into account. Will it understand that the box is the only way out? Finally, this hyena makes the right decision. And after a quick health check by the Wildlife SOS team, it is again released into the wild.
Wildlife SOS conducts awareness programs with all the key stakeholders in the area. Not only do we work with the local communities, but we also work with all the farmers in the region. We try and get them to understand what leopard behavior is and what to do when they spot a leopard in an open well. And everybody knows that these open wells are a problem. And we try and involve them every time there is an operation that requires us to rescue a leopard from a well situation. And by doing this, we have managed to get the local populace over there aware about how to deal with a leopard or any other animal that's fallen into a deep well.
Leopards remain on Wildlife SOS's priority list.
The amount of conflict that leopards are facing pushes them to adapt to survive around human habitation. And that means, people get attacked, leopards get killed, and it is impacting the population of leopards across India.
As these leopard and other wildlife well rescues continue to occur regularly, Wildlife SOS has decided now is the time to implement some changes.
Wildlife SOS is committed to sensitizing rural folks into the dangers of these open wells. Even a simple bamboo cover can sometimes save a life, or a metal cover. We are working hard on this project, which is the project of covering wells. And we hope to have success with it because farmers are understanding the philosophy behind it. It is dangerous to humans too, as well as to animals.
As wells are covered across the state of Maharashtra, time will tell if Wildlife SOS is able to reduce leopard and other wildlife injuries and death. Farmers like Ankush have been seeing results.
आमच्या ह्या वेळीमध्ये 5 वर्षापूर्वी बिबट्या पडला होता. त्यामुळे मग आम्हाला वाईल्डलाईफ SOS या संस्थेने कल्पना दिली बा आपण ह्या वेळी आच्छादन जाळीचं आच्छादन करू शकतो. म्हटलं चालतंय आमची काय हरकत नाही. मग त्यांनी आम्हाला हे आच्छादन करून दिलं आहे. हे आच्छादन केल्यामुळे काय होईल वन्यजीव प्राण्यांचं संरक्षण होईल बाबा.
But wells are not the only issue plaguing leopards in the country. Cubs, hidden in the underbrush by their mothers, are being picked up by well-meaning local people, resulting in a disturbing trend of orphaned leopard babies. Wildlife SOS is here to help.
So the female leopard gives birth to the cubs inside the sugarcane fields, which are dense and safe cover for the cubs. Then, of course, at night, she goes off hunting. Usually, leopards hunt from dusk to dawn. And sometimes, if the female leopard has had to venture quite far away, sometimes they go kilometers to find prey, to survive for her own nutrition and for the cubs, especially if she's got so many cubs. She might end up spending all night tracking the prey, and before she knows, it's already morning. And, once the hustle and the bustle of the village starts, it's very possible that the local villagers reach the sugarcane fields, especially if it's harvest season. If the farmers or someone else comes close to the cubs, they find the cubs and do not see a mother anywhere nearby, they very often get alarmed, thinking that, okay, the mother's killed, she's abandoned the cubs, she's left them. But, maybe because of the traffic and the hustle and the bustle of the people, the human traffic that's going on, she's not able to come back to access her cubs. This is how leopard cubs get found inside a sugarcane field and very often get handed over to Wildlife SOS or to the Forest Department, and they end up at our rescue center.
Once at the Wildlife SOS Rescue Centre, cubs are checked for condition and general health before a strategy is planned for reuniting them with their mothers.
Just recently, 2 leopard cubs were discovered by villagers in Junnar district. They immediately alerted the Wildlife SOS team and the Forest Department, and the rescue team immediately rushed there. The cubs were 1 male, 1 female, about 45 days old. Our Wildlife SOS vet immediately did an examination. We measured them, we weighed them, we see if they are healthy, no cuts, bruises, wounds, or injuries. The fact that they were so healthy showed that the mother had been recently feeding and could be very close by.
The team wants to assure the cubs are not overly stressed before the sometimes lengthy procedure of returning them to the field where they were found, in the hopes the mother leopard will return and accept her babies back.
So the cubs are put into a safe box. We reached the field where the cubs had been found, and they were placed there in this box.
Throughout the night, the mother leopard comes to retrieve her cubs. This is no ordinary box. The plastic bin with holes in it allows the cubs to breathe, while the cover keeps them in and protects against other wild animals that could do them harm. She pokes, prods, and smells the box. It's possible the infrared beam of the remote cameras is also throwing her off. Despite the familiar smells of her young and repeated attempts, she just can't bring herself to release the cubs. Finally, in the early morning, the box has been tipped over. The solution and family reunion is at hand.
And the cubs crawled out, and she was able to carry them off to safety. This was a relatively smooth reunion, and it really gladdens the hearts of both the Forest Department and Wildlife SOS when we can get the cubs back into their natural habitat with their mother, because the skills that the cub has to learn from the mother is something we cannot give them in captivity. And therefore, this sort of a reunion heightens the chances for the cub's survival and for both the mother and the cubs to do well in the habitat that they have chosen to stay in.
And month in, month out, this procedure is repeated, with seemingly grateful leopard mums discovering their babies in little plastic boxes in the field where they lost them. One by one, or sometimes 2 at a time, she gently carries the cubs back to safety. But leopard rescues aren't limited to whales and orphaned cubs. Sometimes something more nefarious is to blame. In this case, leg hold traps, set by hunters to trap wild pigs. Ideally, the Wildlife SOS team is called in when a leopard has first been discovered with its paws stuck in a trap. Time is of the essence, as the animal could gnaw through the limb, die of blood loss, or simply fatigue or heat exhaustion.
Most brutal one is a jaw trap, which is made of discarded automobile parts. And when an animal steps on it, whether it's a hare, a jackal, a fox, a leopard, or a tiger, it can snap shut and basically shatter the bones within that leg. So this is something that Wildlife SOS constantly works at creating awareness about, so that the local communities can identify and report snares and jaw traps if they see any, so that we can work with the enforcement authorities and have these equipment confiscated, but also have the people responsible for that punished.
The leopard is near collapse. Safety is a first priority for human bystanders and the team itself. Once the tranquilizer is prepped, the team is ready to take their shot. Even when wounded, leopards are extremely formidable and could spring to life, injuring those who are trying to help it. Got it. Now to wait for the drug to take effect.
Wildlife SOS is constantly working with the local communities to get them to understand that they have to be more tolerant towards the presence of these leopards. And if there is any kill that has occurred and they need compensation, then they approach the forest department, because the forest department advocates and provides compensation for loss of livestock. And we try and assist them wherever possible, but it's a very challenging scenario.
The leopard is carried off to safety for a few days at the Wildlife SOS clinic. And if all is well, it can be released. If the paw is too damaged, the big cat may have to stay in one of the sanctuaries, where they receive round-the-clock care and feeding. Of course, meat is foremost in the feline's diet, but occasionally, novelty treats are given to stimulate their minds. If there's one thing Wildlife SOS has discovered, it's that leopards can end up in the strangest locations. Take our friend here, who decided it was a good idea to go after chickens in their coop, but then couldn't find a way to get out.
Over the years, Wildlife SOS has built up a solid relationship with the villagers around and the people, the stakeholders as it were, and therefore it has become very smooth now. They immediately alert us and we're able to set off a quick response team really fast to deal with the situation before it goes out of hand or becomes dangerous.
For their part, the chickens didn't seem to notice too much. Once again, prepping the tranquilizing dart and lining up a place to target the leopard was key to a safe and easy removal. He goes down fast, without a struggle. Now to safely move him into the waiting vehicles. He'll be safely moved several miles down the road to the rescue facility. During the drive, his heart is monitored to assure he's well and stable. Back at the centre, the cat is assessed for general condition and any injuries. After a 24-hour stay, it's decided he can be released back out into the wild. And having learned his lesson, will hopefully stay away from enclosed chicken coops. Throughout the years, Wildlife SOS has saved the lives of dozens of leopards, including their cubs, lifting them out of harm's way and returning them to nature. Or for injured ones, securing a healthy home. their work is far from done, as leopards continue to show up in fields or wells and the places you least expect them. What's been learned, however, is that with community outreach, clever technology, and veterinary support and treatment, these amazing, cunning predators will have a future on the Indian continent.